primarily how the Upwork profile looks like when you are logged into it. See, I am logged into my profile right now here. You can see it here. Uh, if you want to see how it looks while, okay, let me just log in again. I'm logging up myself out. I'll just log in again so that you can see how we are doing it. Okay, you are aware of different freelance platforms, are you? You know that freelance thing is something where you can go and find projects of your interest. It's not about law only, not only law. You can find different types of projects, different of your different interests. Maybe it's some accounting project, maybe it's your IT project or something like that. You can go to different freelance websites, like Freelancer is one, then Upwork is one, then People Per Hour, and similarly there are like more than, I think, 20 platforms available for freelance work. Okay. So Upwork is just one of them. I have worked on freelancer.com, and I have worked with Upwork. And I have worked with People Per Hour as well. So these are three freelancer platforms that I am acquainted with and I have worked on. Anyway, Upwork is the best I find in freelancer things. Even though freelancer.com is quite much cheaper, you can get you don't have to give too much of commission on freelancer.com. You have to pay more to Upwork people, but still projects on Upwork are much standard and you get higher pay on Upwork always.
Oh, you have to give commission to Upwork. Like if they give you $50, you have to give some percentage to them. I didn't know this.
Every time. Yeah, 20% is the project fee for everything in Upwork.
Okay.
But on Freelancer, it varies from 5% to 20%.
Wow. Okay.
Okay,
thanks for telling us that. Yeah. Go on.
When you are going to make your profile on Upwork, you have to I'm going to settings, and here you can see my account. You can edit your account by when you have made your profile. See, on Upwork, it's not necessary that whenever you have made a profile, they'll enter you, they'll give you access to because they always have so many professionals already working on Upwork. Okay, so they always take time, and also they also review your profile, that how many things you have stated correctly and how many things are not. And so they usually take time, and they do not admit everyone to the platform. Okay, so there are few things you have to keep in mind, that while writing your writing that what all things you can do, you have to mention it very accurately, that what things you are good at and what type of projects you can take up. So I'll just show you how the profile looks like. This is how it looks. If let me show you the public view, how everyone else can see my profile. Then I'll show you how I can see my profile and how I can edit it. Okay. So here is how, whenever a client is going to find me on Upwork, he can see this view of my profile. That he can see that I have posted in that I can do intellectual property law work, I can do paralegal work, and I can do contract work. There are so many other things as well. So this is something that what is called your profile summary. Whenever a client is looking at your profile summary, what is he going to see? That who I am and what all things I can do. See, these 15 things are what I have listed, that I am good at these things. So I can do the any project which involves any of these things. Okay, so it's very uncanny that if you have not listed anything in your profile specification, but still a client can give you that work. That is not possible primarily. So whatever you can do, whatever you are good at, you always should mention it here. Then here you can see a video of me introducing myself. This is always good. This is always preferable, that you always post a video of yourself. It's not only about what you have written, because what a client wants to see in you is how confident you are in your work, how confident are you in your talking. It's not about writing only, it's about presentation as well. Okay, so if you post your video, introduction video, that is always a good thing. So whenever you are making a profile on Upwork, do take care that you should include your video as well. That is always preferred. It's not mandatory, but it is always preferable. Okay. Then here you can see hours. You can always mention hours of your choice. Suppose I have mentioned 30 hours per week, more than 30 hours per week, but still if you are just a student, for example, you cannot dedicate more than 7 hours in a week. So you can just put in here so that a client knows that this is your availability, and accordingly he can give you a project on that. Then these are general your resume type of things. Then this is just my work history, what all I have done and on how much price. This is how a client can see my profile. This is portfolio. Portfolio is example of your work. Basically, if you have already done something and you can show it off to your clients that this is how I can do. So what I did is I had uploaded 2 contracts, exclusivity contract and share purchase agreement. These are 2 different types of agreements. So basically what I want from Upwork is I want the projects which include contract drafting, contract reviewing, or something like that. So what I want to show off here is my contract drafting and reviewing skills. Getting it? So this is what I'll include here. I have included 2 different types of contracts here. Then these are skills. You can, when you are adding your skills, you can always like pick and choose. Whenever you will be like, you will type a word here, it will suggest what all things you can include. So I have done already. I have done SEC work. I have done cryptocurrency related works. I have done I have given legal opinions to my clients apart from contract things. So whatever I have done or whatever I can find here, I'll just include in my skills thing. Okay. Then testimonials are the reviews of your past clients. So these are 2 people who have given testimonials from my side, who have said that, yeah, apart from this Upwork platform, I have worked with this person, and yeah, I trust her in her work. That's why whenever it is basically important when you are going to get your first project. Getting your first project is the very, very important thing. And it is the most difficult task as well, I'm telling you. I have tried on many platforms. I have tried on so many different freelancer platforms, and getting your first project is the most important thing for you. And it takes most of the time and all your efforts. You have to give in, you have to be like very consistent. You have to be like very hardworking to get your first project. After you have got your first project and you have got a rating, it gets very easy to get your second project, but first project is always very, very difficult to get. Okay, so testimonials, putting on your testimonials, putting on your video, putting on these these different contracts of your previous work things, portfolio thing. So these are important to primarily get your first project. After you have got your first project, it'll really get very sorted to get your second project.
Sakshi, I had a question. So we give the students a lot of weekly assignments where we make them draft contracts and put certain clauses and all of that. So can we put that as the sample, like you had put exclusivity and share purchase agreement? So if they draft maybe some clauses, or is it suggested that they draft the entire contract and only then put it as the project, like you said?
It is not mandatory to put in anything, but whenever you are putting anything, you want to put your best. Okay. So if you are going to go in for contracts only, it is always preferable that you put an entire contract and not that Google plagiarized contract. No, because the clients are very clever. They'll always put in your contract and see how much the content is plagiarized. And if your first impression is bad, you're not going to get any project. So it is always preferable that you go and learn a few things about it, and then you try to form contracts for yourselves. Suppose you are just living on rent on some place, just go in and draft your own rent agreement. There is no need that you have a client of yourself. So just assume that you are in a situation and you are going to draft a contract for yourself, and just put in here and just tell everyone that, yeah, I had a client and I have done this for my client. So basically you have to flaunt your skills.
Great. Thanks.
Okay.
There's one question. Aditya has raised his hand. Aditya, you can unmute
Yes,
and
please,
ask the
Aditya.
question.
My question is with regard. So you spoke about how the initial few days or the initial few projects is extremely difficult to like sort of get right.
Right.
My question is there a way to sort? If it was me versus another newbie, what are the certain acts that I can take beyond this? Are there like, is there a particular way in which you draft your profile? Are there certain keywords that you use, or is this, these kind of nitbit tricks that, you can use to bolster your chances?
Yeah, these are the little things that I was telling you, because everyone does not put on video. Everyone does not add testimonials. Everyone will not add a portfolio like previous work things. So these are where you can get an upper notch over other people. And then other thing is, when a client comes to talk to you, you can like, if you talk to him in a like decent way, don't start by saying, hey dude, how are you doing? No, start by saying sir or ma'am or something like that. Be as professional as you can be. And then if you keep nagging someone on money, this is one thing that I have really faced a problem with, because I had also
She's just
posted
adding
some
the
projects for
charger
myself.
to her laptop, guys. So just give her some time. Yeah.
Yeah, just a minute. So basically, I'm saying that this was one thing, that after you have completed your project, or even if you have not completed it, you're just negotiating with your client. If you keep nagging on prices, the client will get off and he'll not give you project. So it can be a possibility that in your initial days, or for your initial projects, you have to compromise on your prices or on your rates. See, what I did is, I had started working on $10 per hour, and now I am working on $40 per hour. But still, there are some clients who need their work to be done in $15 per hour. I'll do it for them. Getting me? I'll not keep nagging them. No, this is my per hour rate, and I won't work on anything less than this. You have to judge things. You have to be very practical while working, because there is too much of competition. There are so many people who are already working on it. Why would a client come to you? For example, if you are the one who is going to post a project on Upwork, for example, you need to get your website done, and you have so many freelancers in front of you. Why would you choose anyone amongst them? Just keep in mind that thing, and then you can just and about the keywords that Aditya asked, what are the keywords, what are the tricks, what are the keywords that I can add? When you will this is, my profile is specifically curated for contract drafting things. But for example, you want your work to be done in IP things, you have to be very intelligent. You have to know that what are the specific terms, what are the work that you can get through IPs. For example, in IP, what are the primary things you can get? You have to include copyrights, you have to include trademark, you have to include patents. What work you can actually do? Then again, inside that, what all you can include, like in patents, for example, if you have added filing, for example, for example, if you are working for US jurisdiction, for example, you are going to work for US jurisdiction, and you write a filing examination request. So this is one thing. You have to know what are all are these steps, and what all things you'll have to do while filing a patent application. So the keywords are not anything specific. You have to use your mind, that what all things can be that will you all know SEO. Are you aware of the concept of SEO?
No, please explain.
Anyone? SEO is search engine optimization. For example, if you are building up a website of yourself, then if you are going to work in some specific field, you will have to add some keywords to address. For example, I'm going to work for intellectual property rights. Okay, and if I'll add some keywords, like if anyone is searching a patent lawyer in India or a patent lawyer in USA, why would my website pop up? Why would it pop up? Because I have included some keywords in my profile like patent, USA, lawyer, India. So if these are the so similar as it works on Google, as it works on any search engine, similarly it works on Upwork as well. So these keywords are something that will pop your profile up in front of the client. Apart from how you have posted your bid, how you have mentioned your profile, the keywords are the key. But what keywords you are going to use is nothing specific. You have to be very intelligent while including that.
One more question, Sakshi. Shivani wanted to ask if you could open your portfolio once and show us what that looks like.
Okay, just a second.
Yeah. Then I'll come to Aditya's follow-on
Sure.
question.
So this is how the portfolio looks like. It is this is my agreement that I have included. Then what this agreement is about, this is just a specific description about what this agreement is. And if I open this agreement, this is the entire agreement. I have redacted all the details, like the name of my client, or if there would have been the address, I would have redacted the address as well. This is a very simple, see, this is my way of working. I do not like to make my agreements very complicated. I want to keep them like very simple, in a very simple language, so that it is easier, because everyone is not a lawyer, and the parties who are going to deal in are going to be layman person. This is what I have to assume. So I just want to keep the contract as simple as possible, yet it has to include everything that the client may face in future. See, when a client approaches you, I'll be coming towards the contracting again. I'll be coming on contracts, how you have to draft the contract and everything like that. So this is how this, just for you, how it looks like. This is how it looks like. So fine for now, Shivani?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
And Aditya had a follow-on question. Aditya, you can unmute.
Yes, please.
I understand that you've told us that you work for a firm and you do freelancing. So my question was with this. So I'm halfway through law school right now, and I don't really get a lot of internship opportunities. So I wanted to know, like, would freelancing in a so how do you balance freelancing and internship, or can both act as proof of experiences? How far does freelancing on certain topics, like say you've particularly drafted like exclusive distribution agreements, how far is that accepted into a corporate or like a firm like structure versus an internship? So is there,
are you like, I am a full-time lawyer, you understand that, right?
yes.
So I have been working as a lawyer since last 7 years. Okay. So apart from this Upwork profile is what I made like 2 years back. So before that, I was dealing with my clients. There were some people. So these agreements are what I made apart from Upwork. I had worked on freelancer as well at that time. So these two contracts are what I did for other clients. So I was not interning at that time, and I actually could not get your question specifically. What do you mean that how I balance my internships and my work? Because
so
this is
how
my
do you
real.
balance your work? Like for me it's internships, for you it's work. So where do you draw the line between working and freelancing? That it was more of
This is
a
my full-time work actually.
okay, fine.
Freelancing is
Yeah,
what
and she's also the managing partner of both the paralegal firm and her own firm. So she can decide her own
Yes.
timings and everything like
Exactly.
that accordingly. Yeah.
Basically, I am the director in Caesar Paralegal. Caesar Paralegal Private Limited is one of our companies, and AGS Legal is our law firm. So AGS Legal, we do not, we are like totally involved in freelance things only. Apart from freelancing, whatever projects we get, we usually like have other people in our firm who generally take up the litigation or something like that. So freelancing or this thing is totally my full-time work. And yeah, I do hire interns as well. AGS Legal hires interns, Caesar Paralegal hires interns, and I personally hired some interns for myself as well, but they are usually related to this Upwork thing or freelance thing only, because freelancers is not only for one specific projects. I also get my clients here for some long-term projects. I have been working for like 3 clients for over 4 years. And all of them I got from freelancer websites only. So while working with them, they develop trust in me, they develop trust in my work. So it becomes a full-time job. You cannot do anything else apart from this if you are doing it full-time.
And again, answering your question, Aditya, if you're doing freelance work while doing your college and all that, generally, I don't know how many places you've interned. I'm saying this from my own experience and talking to other law students when we were in law school. Mostly for internships, they don't give you substantial legal work. They'll just tell you to do legal research. They'll ask you to make photocopies. They'll ask you to accompany them in court. They'll ask you to sit in client meetings and take notes. That is the kind of thing that interns do in internships. But if you do the freelance work, you're actually doing lawyer's work as a paralegal. You're making these contracts for foreign companies and all of that. Okay. And not just this, like Sakshi said, you can also do proofreading. You can also make case briefs. You can also explain contracts in layman language to people and clients. A lot of things you can do.
Yeah, there are so many things. There are people who do not understand their contracts. They come to you just for explanation purposes. But for that, you have to be an expert of contract, because you have to know each and everything and what are loopholes they are going to be. Like the clients who come for review, basically they want to know what is written in contract. The contract is not just for review, it's also for them to be explained what all things are included and what all things they are there, that like what troubles they can have in future, like that. Okay. So shall I move forward? Shall I show you how jobs are found here?
Yeah.
The real work.
Yes.
So find work, we'll go to find work. See, these are categories. What type of work you are you can do. Like these are the categories that I had placed there as well. So I had mentioned what all things I can do. So I have made my own categories, that how I want to see my feed, how I want to see the projects. Okay, so let's go to contract law. So when I went here, there are 368 jobs already there, and you can choose, pick from here what work you can do. How you're going to pick, just read the heading: performing artist seeks lawyer for non-disclosure confidence. So NDA, non-disclosure agreements and contracts, etc. These are very simple things, very basic things. NDAs are generally very simple. They include similar types of things. So this is a very simple projects. I would like to choose this one. Okay. So how much time the client has said? Less than 30 hours. So the client has not made it so there are 2 types of projects here on Upwork. One is fixed project, fixed budget project, and the second is per hour project. Okay, fixed budget projects are, the client is going to tell you that I want to get this work done for $250. If you agree and if you negotiate, you can say that I can do it in $300. The client will say, no, $50 is the maximum budget I can give you to like draft this agreement. So you have to accept it or reject it. This is one thing. These are fixed project contracts. The other type of projects are per hour project. Per hour projects are on this Upwork. There's one very nice thing, that you get to track time. I'll show you. If I'll show you now, just a second. Okay, I'll show you. There is a time tracker, as you can see. Okay, it's not open right now. No problem. You will get it here anyhow. Okay, so there's generally a time tracker on this Upwork platform where you can track time while working with on a client's project. So what happens is, see, the client has said less than 30 hours per week and for 1 to 3 months. So this client wants your services for 3 months, for about 3 months, and wants you to work for less than 30 hours per week. So if you will, for example, your per hour rate is $20 per hour. So if you can work for, when you will be working for this client, you will be tracking the time you have worked on that client, for how many hours you have actually worked. And during that time tracking, the Upwork platform also takes a screenshot that you are actually working on that client's work, or you were doing something else, you were watching a movie in that time. So that screenshot goes to the client, and that the client can approve or disapprove your work. And on the basis of that, you get paid for that work. Fine. So for example, I want to bid on this project. I selected this one, and then I want to submit a proposal. I'll show you how to write your proposal and what all things are to be included here. So this is one thing that Pallavi, you were saying that they take some commission as well. So this is connects.
Right.
This project requires 21 connects. Okay, this project requires 6 connects here. This proposal requires 6 connects to bid on this project. So if you, these connects are basically something that you have to buy first. I have 21 connects available right now. And if I'll bid on this project, my 6 connects will be gone, will be deducted from my account. And suppose I have 0 connects right now, I'll have to buy more connects and each connect costs around 10 to 15 rupees per connect is the cost of each connect. So if I have to bid on this
commission, what is the meaning of connect? It is the commission.
Connect is something, no, it is not the commission. It is not something that you are going, it is something that you need. It is the money to bid on that project. Bidding is also not free on Upwork. Bidding is just the first step. Bidding is something that you are putting in your proposal. If the client likes your proposal, he will come back to talk to you. And when the client will come back to talk to you, then only you can convert him to do the work or not to do the work. And if I want to just bid on this project, I'll have to use 60 rupees at least. 6 connects means around 60 rupees. It's not exactly.
Is it like an auction, Sakshi? Aditya's asking?
Yeah, kind of an auction, you can say. It is, suppose this is the work the client has put up. There will be more than 20, 30 freelancers who will be bidding that I am this person and I can do this work and I have this understanding of your work. And this is why I am the best person to do this work. Everyone will display their best, that how they are the best person to work on this project. And then client will choose one, can interview some people. The client can interview everyone. The client can interview 2 or 3 people he likes the most, then he'll give the project to any one person.
One more question. So suppose this proposal says 6 connects. What if you give him 20 connects? Does that give you an upper hand for getting this proposal?
No. No, you cannot give less than 6 connects. You cannot give more than 6 connects.
Okay.
This is what exactly, this is the price of bidding on this project. Any client can like choose what, there are some projects which need more than 20 connects as well. So it depends on the client. If the client needs very serious candidates to bid on that project, that the client does not want that anyone should come up and just bid, and I don't want to interview more than 10 people, or I don't want to interview like non-serious candidates, the client will put up more connect requirements to bid on the project. Okay.
And is there a correlation between number of connects and the amount of money they are paying? So if I'm a client and I require 20 connects, that means I'm paying $100 per hour or something like that? No.
Right. No. There's nothing like that.
Okay. So more connects doesn't mean more money. Maybe more effort.
It is just the price for bidding on this project. And if you are being awarded this project, then if you have earned like $10, $20 will be deducted.
John, this thing is getting disconnected. It's actually frozen.
Automatically by freelancer as their fees. Hello.
Yeah.
$100 or $20. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
So this is just the price for bidding, and after you have like got your project and after you are getting paid, So I was just saying that if you are getting paid $100, $20 will be the commission for Upwork. The Upwork will show only $80 as your earning if you have earned $100 on Upwork.
Okay, okay. So there are some
Okay.
questions.
Yes, please.
I think this is Rajiv. Rajiv Mishra is asking, it's minimum charges for sharing the contact details. Is something like that, the connect?
For sharing the contact as in?
Like they are sharing your details so that the client can approach you. Is it something like that?
No, no,
These
no, no,
connects?
no.
Okay.
It's not like that. No.
Okay, then
You are not
Bolo
like
bolo.
you cannot pay them to like be visible to the client more than other clients. No, nothing like that.
Yeah, and then Pankaj is asking, it seems an attempt of Upwork to control the applications on each new work. Is it something like that? These connects?
Yes, right, right.
Okay, okay. And then Rajiv is saying, or permitting you to connect with the client and then she hires you if you are not that based on your case. Okay, I didn't understand that. Then Aditya is saying, does this get remunerated with your final pay? Also, once you use a connect, is it cashed in or does it get remunerated in the event you lose the project?
No,
Does it
no,
come
no.
back
It
to
does
you?
not. No, it does not come back. It is your price to bid on that project. Once you have like posted your bid, it does not come back. So you have to be very careful while bidding on projects as well. You cannot bid on each and every project because you are losing your money there.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
And this is something which is very consistent with each and every freelancer platform. It is primarily to reduce spamming of freelancers and as well. Because if it was not charged, everyone would like to bid on each and every project. You would not select which project you want to take up and which project you don't want to take up. Getting me?
One more question, Sakshi, that job posting which you showed on non-disclosure agreement. Non-disclosure agreement are one of the easiest agreements to draft. So suppose for you, based on your templates, it takes you 1 hour. But the client is asking for 30 hours per week and
I think
so many things. How do you do that? And how do you charge the client then?
See, this project is something what I can get an understanding of is that the client has a number of non-disclosure agreements and wants to give you a regular work for around 3 months and would like you to work on all the projects. Anyway, it is going to get clear only once the client gets to talk to me. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
So these are the job details. See, that was just a heading of the job. This one here, performing artist seeks lawyer for non-disclosure confidentiality agreement, contracts, and etc. So this was just a heading. So this is where the client has mentioned all the requirements, has mentioned basically that what you are expected to do in this project. So I'm performing artist based in Los Angeles. I'm currently working on the following: creating a business plan, defining my music, form a company, register my members. Okay, so this client basically wants to form a company in Los Angeles relating to this work. So basically, this work is not only about NDA. This work is about incorporation of a company as well. So this is going to take time. Incorporation of company does take time. So that's why the client has written 1 to 3 months.
Hi, Sakshi, one question from me.
Yes, please.
So who decides, for example, if there is a particular project, who decides how much time will it take? Is it you who will tell the client or the client will tell you? Now, if the client tells you that it's a 30 days or 30 hours project and you say, no, it's a 50 hours, how does the consensus happen then?
You have to negotiate.
Okay.
If the client will give you a primary idea on what he's expecting. Okay, then if you think that this work is not only about 30 hours, this work is gonna take 50 hours, you'll have to tell this to client and you'll have to negotiate things with client.
Okay, cool.
Okay, then you can ask the client to convert it into a fixed project, or you can say that no, this is going to cost you this much. I cannot do anything less than this. So these are all part of your negotiations and how you deal your client.
Guys, a request, please raise your hand and ask the question, okay? And just don't unmute and ask. Yeah.
Okay, so wherever you are taking up a project, you also have to see who the client is. The client has actually paid on Upwork. If you see that this client had this client had made 2 different projects, and these were fixed price projects. This is the first time that client has made an hourly project. So you have to just have a look on who the client is. Has he actually paid on Upwork and something like that? So 12% hire rate, 14 open jobs. So this client does not hire 2 men. So if I bid on this project, if I post my bid, there is a very low probability that he's going to hire me or anyone, because this client has 12% high rate. So I would not want to waste my 60 rupees on this project. Getting me? Even though this is something that I can do, I would not waste my 60 rupees on this one, because this client does not has a very good hire rate, and this client has only spent $200 in all. So this client is not a very good paying client. This client is not a verified client. This client does not has a very good high rate. So no, I would not take up this project. Okay. So this is how I'll like search that how if I'm going to take up this job or I'm going to leave this job.
But tell me one more thing, Sakshi. See, you have been in Upwork for 2 years and have earned money and have these testimonials and rating. For someone like, say, one of our students or me, I've never worked on Upwork. So can I take a client like this who has just done 12% hiring or payment only $200? What would you suggest for that?
See, this is something I'm just telling you, because even if you bid on this project, there's a very low probability that this client is going to hire. See, if you can spend, because if you are going to take up such projects, how much money you are going to, if you have lost more than, like you say, you have lost more than 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees on just bidding, and you have not got even a single project and you have not got a single earning, you will get demotivated. You will not want to continue. Getting me? So if you can spend that much money, that is quite okay. You can do this. You can take a risk of like just taking it up, but I won't say that you should do this, because I would not like to do this for myself, because this client is not even verified. Payment method should be verified. This is one thing that you should always see while working on any platform, any freelancer platform, because there is a probability if this client does not has a verified payment method, there is a probability that you will get the work done and this client will not pay you.
Okay, thanks.
So you'll get demotivated. You would not want to work further. So you have to be very cautious in these things. And you are also putting in your money to get this project. So why would you do this? Otherwise, if you want to do, you are always free, because these projects are there for this thing. Okay.
Right,
Then,
thanks.
shall we move forward now?
One more question Aditya is asking. Divya, please raise your hand and then ask questions. I'll just come to Aditya's question. How are you protected against such circumstances by the websites, if at all you are? Like you've done the work, they are not being paid. How do you protect yourself?
Yes, so basically there are milestones. Whenever you start a work, there are some milestones. Let me show you. Whenever you are like bidding on a work, you will see there are no active milestones. For example, there are some I told you there were 2 types of projects. One was fixed hour project and one was hourly project. If it is an hourly project, your payment is almost protected. You can, like, if you have worked on some project for 2 hours and the client has approved that you have actually done the work on that project itself, and you were not watching a movie in that time while you were tracking for that client, then you are almost safe. Your payment is secured, because the client, whenever the client has created like 7 hours for you to work in a week, he'll pay for that, and that amount will be kept in an escrow account. And whenever you have completed your project, and the client has approved it, it takes around 7 days for the client to approve that you have done the right work. If the client does not approve that, that money will be released automatically and it will be credited in your account. And if the client does approve and it will be, then again it will be credited in your account automatically. But in fixed projects, what you have to do, how you can stay cautious is, you should not start working until the client has made the milestone, until the client has deposited money in the escrow account. Milestones are escrow account. Escrow accounts are something that the client has already paid, but you have not received. So it is an account which is managed by Upwork. The Upwork or any freelancer platform makes sure that the client is going to pay for this. If you have already done your work and the client is not willing to pay, that amount will not go back to the client unless you have approved that I do not deserve this money and I want the money to go back to the client. So do not start working for any client unless they have made your milestones. Just take care of this. For any freelancer platform, I'm telling you, this is for freelancer. This is something that I have learned after losing so much money, I cannot tell you. I have got there were so many losses we faced because we used to start working. We didn't used to ensure that we used to say that it's okay. So what, we are so new and why should we press the client to make the milestone? Or sometimes it was even my mistake, that by mistake I accepted the project. Yes, you don't have to accept the project as well. Accept the project only when the client has made the milestone. Because once not on Upwork, basically in freelancer, what happens that if you have accepted a project, your commission will get deducted. Even if you get paid or you don't get paid, does not matter. Your commission will get deducted as soon as you have accepted the project. So don't start working on a project unless the client has made the milestone. Similarly, on Upwork as well, if you have started working on a project and you have delivered your work, but the client had not made a milestone, there is no guarantee that you would get paid.
Thanks. Divya, yeah, you can unmute and ask your question.
Yes, please, Divya.
Actually, you were checking that higher rate now. From where to check that? Could you please show it?
Higher rate, okay.
Higher rate.
Okay. How much the client is going to pay? That is what you are asking, right?
That we need to check, no?
Yeah. So suppose this is the project. So this is going to be a fixed price project, and the budget of the client is $10. This is how you see how the what is the budget of the client. This is a fixed price project. This has $70, $75. This is a fixed price project again of $200. Okay, so and
No, actually, you were saying
that payment verification thing which you showed, Sakshi.
Higher.
Payment. Sorry, what were you saying?
When
You said that we have to check what is the higher rate of the client, otherwise he may not hire you.
Okay.
Higher rate.
Okay. Higher rate basically is how much, suppose a client posts projects on Upwork, but he does not, he generally leaves those projects without hiring even a single person. Okay, so this is basically a higher rate. 9 jobs posted, 78% higher rate, 1 open job. So basically in these 9 jobs, I'm not good at maths, so I cannot calculate in on how many jobs he has actually hired, but this client has a very good hire rate. And that client had just 12% hire rate. That means that whenever he posts a job, he generally does not hire even a single freelancer. Getting me? So it is not necessary that if I have posted a job, I have to hire someone. This is not compulsory for me. So I might have posted some jobs, but I did not find any freelancer satisfactory. Or for example, I did not want anyone to hire. I have got my work done from outside itself. So I'll just leave that project there. I will not hire even a single person. That is how hire rate is calculated. And for example, someone had posted 9 jobs and they have 100% hire rate. That means that on every job, the client does not leave without hiring a freelancer there. So that is the best client to work with, because you know that if you are posting your proposal, you will be contacted. You have the maximum probability of being contacted at least.
Along with each and every project, is the higher rate also given over there?
Yes, it is always given.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a couple of more questions. Actually, I think we'll not be able to come to contract review today. So many questions.
Okay, no issues. We can deal with
Maybe
it.
just briefly, you can talk about contract reviewing, because drafting we are already teaching them. Aditya has more questions. Can you
Yes,
stop working if the client is late with his or her escrow account deposit? Then do you get the money already deposited as partial work if partial work is complete?
For that, we have a strategy. We do not make just one milestone. We will ask the client that whenever we are like bidding for a project, what it asks is how many milestones do you want to be made. For example, I have a contract for contract drafting. I would want the client to make 3 milestones. The first milestone for you, for example, I want that whenever I have understood the project, I want the first milestone to be released. Whenever I have submitted the draft, I want the second milestone to be released. And whenever I have submitted the final book, I want the third milestone to be released. So this is how I'll ensure that even if the client leaves in between, my work will not get unpaid. Okay, so for example, I have asked the client to make first milestone first. For example, it was $100 project, and I have made first milestone for $25. The second milestone is for again $25, or for example, I want second milestone to be of $50, then last milestone again of $25. Then first I'll ask the client to make the first milestone. The client will deposit $25. Whenever the client thinks that I am ready to start the work, I will say that I'll start the work only when you release my first milestone. The client release the first milestone, I'll start working on the draft. Whenever I have I have submitted my draft, I'll ask the client to release the second milestone. If the client does not release a second milestone, I already have that $50 in escrow account. If suppose, for example, the client stops responding then and there, I had submitted the draft, but the client is not responding now, then this $50 will be released in a specific amount of time. For example, in 7 days, or if it is a disputed project, I can provide my proof of work to Upwork, and I'll say that yes, I had done this work and the client did not respond. That's why this project could not be completed. So please release this milestone, as this was supposed to be for this work. Okay. Is this clear, Aditya? Can you hear me, Pallavi?
I'm unmuted. Shivani had a question. I think Shivani, you want to unmute and ask?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask 2 questions.
Mhm.
What do you mean? How you get the mail, right? The projects got archived. What does that mean?
Sorry, where did you see the project got archived?
Like, I made a profile on Upwork, and then I made the bidding, and then I got the mail after like 2 to 3 days that the project got archived or deleted.
Okay, in that case, the client did not hire anyone, and the project was like closed without hiring even a single person. That's why the project got archived.
Okay, so I got.
So
And
this
then
is what
another-
I was saying, higher rate. No, this is what I was explaining, that there are some clients who do not hire even a single person there.
Okay, and then there is another question. Like, you get
Yes.
the option to, set the milestones. How would you decide that how many milestones you want to keep, and like?
It is totally up to you and the client, that how many. If you want the payment to be very secured, you can split your work in different milestones. For example, if you were an IT person, you had because MSA, you have heard about Master Service Agreement? Shivani?
Yeah,
Yes.
they have.
Yes, yes, yes,
So
yes.
master service agreement, what are they? Basically, they are also divided in several milestones only. No? That I'll get paid when this milestone is completed. Right?
Yeah.
So this is something at a very smaller, you can say, scale, but this is the same thing here. So you and your client can always discuss on how many milestones you want. Generally, client will agree on whatever you suggest. The client will not say that, no, I don't want 4 milestones. I just want it to be done in 1 milestone. No, the client generally accepts whatever you will suggest. So whatever, if you are starting your work, I'll say that split your work. And if you are splitting your work in many milestones, it always looks professional. If you are doing your work in just 1 milestone, it is professional, but it does not have that like impact, that much like look or like, getting my point.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Any other question?
Are there any other question, guys? We can go to the skill of how to review contracts, Sakshi. I think because contract drafting, we already teach them and there are drafts. So maybe we
Okay.
can, last thing you can teach is how, if a contract is there in front of you, what clauses we should see to review, how should we
Okay.
review
How much
based on
time
the
are we
client.
left with, Pallavi?
Maybe 15-20 minutes. I think
Okay.
1.5 hours class we have. So 15-20 minutes, and then we'll have 15 minutes for taking questions for that as well.
Okay, fine. So
And you tell us if you have some other commitment, then we can even stop now. You tell us. Half an hour you have, right, with you?
no, nothing else. I was just asking
Okay.
so that I can have an idea on how how can I explain contract.
Yeah, in detail. Yeah. So maybe 15 minutes of that, and then there'll be a lot of follow-on questions. Our students do ask questions, so maybe
Okay,
15
fine.
minutes of explaining that, and then we'll ask. Let them
So
ask.
I'm just closing this for now. If you have, I'll just put it down so that if you have any question afterwards. Let me see which contract I'd like to.
Maybe
Suppose
a simple one, like something not too complicated. Yeah, contractor agreement is also fine. Yeah.
So let me see if there's any comment I have posted here.
There are
Okay,
a lot of changes here. Yeah, you can tell us like what are the things to look when we are reviewing and all of that. So you can tell us. Some other simpler one. Master service is very long and big.
Very long agreement, right?
Maybe NDA or employment agreement or something like that.
Employment agreement. This is basically a drafted agreement, not a reviewed one.
Okay,
Okay.
share purchase. Yes, anything you decide. Maybe MSA is also fine because you made a lot of changes in that. So maybe just those clauses or something.
Okay.
And just tell us what master service agreement is. I think a lot of students must have worked on it, but the conceptual clarity is also not there for a lot of us.
Master service agreement is primarily if you are going to provide your services to some client, then what all things are going to like govern your entire service thing. They are written in master service agreement. There are several other things as well involved in your while working. There will be many other things that will be included, but they'll become part of your master service agreement. Master service agreement is primary term.
You're frozen, Sakshi.
Hello. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay, so basically, master service agreement is an agreement which governs the basic conditions of an agreement for any service provision. If you are going to provide your services to your client, what are the things that will primarily govern your provision of services? And there are various other things which will become part of master service agreement later on. Okay, so these are the basic terms which are going to govern your provision of services through the client. That is basically MSA, Master Service Agreement. So this was, how to read an agreement. This is the part where the parties are defined. See, this is an effect. Whenever you start your agreement,
You're frozen, Sakshi.
there can be some, I think there's some internet issue or something like that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically this is, sometimes you will see this part in this format. Sometimes you will see this part like, this master service agreement, this is the effective date. Effective date is what is an effective date? Whenever, from when your contract is going to start is called your effective date. For example, you are signing the contract today, but you have started your work like 1 month back. So this effective date will basically be the date from when the work had actually started. Or for example, if you're going to start your work after 2 months, then this effective date will be the date when this work is going to start, from when this contract is going to be effective. That is called the effective date. Okay. So, and then is made between by. Sometimes you will see that this agreement is in a different format, like is made by and between. Then these parties are basically written in this format. Sometimes you will see agreements written like this as well. So this can also be a look of agreement. This is how it can be written. It can also be written in the way it was written in a single paragraph as well. So this way it is very visible that there are two parties. One party is the university and second party is the vendor. And whenever you are defining the parties, you name them and then you write what kind of entity this party is and then an address. Generally, it is written in this format. However, it is not written here for this party, but that's totally fine. But generally, when I am drafting an agreement, what I'll do is I'll name this party. I'll say that this is what type of company this is. For example, they are saying that it is a Connecticut limited liability company. This is a company which is a limited liability company with its principal office at this address. Fine. So whenever you are defining a party, name the party. Then see that what type of party it is. For example, if this is an individual residing in a specific place, you can say that this is person, an individual residing at, and then give an address of that person. If it is a company, if it is any other legal entity, give the address of its principal office or registered office. This is how the parties are defined. Name, then type of entity, or type of person, then the address, and then how you are going to address that party in the entire agreement. Okay. Then this part is called recitals, whereas wala clause, this clause is all these
guys, recitals and all, you know, right? I'll just ask her to jump into contract reviewing. Just put it in the chat box if you know these things. I think Komal and Nishwita, everyone taught you, so you know all these things, right? Yeah, cool. Okay, so I'll just ask her to jump into the clauses which you have to see and review when she gets back. I hope she gets back. I think her electricity or something's gone off because I don't think she's receiving my WhatsApp messages also. I'll just try calling. Yeah, I think I apologize. I think her internet, electricity or something must have gone in Delhi where she's staying. So maybe we can wait for 5 minutes if she can get back. Otherwise, we can just talk about whatever has been taught. Did you find this session informative? Shivani said she did. And Mitali has just joined. Did you find it informative? The contract reviewing, we can take up. We can ask her to take another class, and we can take that up. Another thing I wanted you to notice that if you saw the contract which she showed, that was for Boston University, and that's an American contract. So for American contracts, you write all the parties, everything, effective date together in one paragraph. Sakshi's back. But for Indian contracts and other common law contracts, UK-based contracts, they keep the parties separate and everything will be a separate paragraph. Okay, as Sakshi's back, I'll just ask her to jump into the reviewing part itself. Sakshi, can you hear me?
Hello.
So Sakshi, students already know the basics of contracts, the parts which you were saying. So you can just jump into the clauses which has to be seen when we are reviewing. What are the important clauses that one should review and see? So wo hi dikha do.
Just
a screen share rights? Yeah, you have screen share rights.
Just a second, let me share my screen. You can see the agreement now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can show us the important clauses for reviewing which are there and how to review it, and those things you can go through.
Thing you have to see what the agreement is dealing in, then you'll understand that what can be the problem basically. So I'm not going into what this agreement really was. I'll just show what all clauses you have to primarily see that what can be problematic there. So services is primarily this clause is going to define scope of services. So this is going to be a very general clause. There is rarely that you will find anything that is problematic here. Then what all you need to check is just go to the part where fees and expenses are discussed. This is one thing you have to see. You have to be like sure about your client needs this thing and this thing he does not need. For example, service fee. Service fee is generally something that the client would have discussed before including it in the agreement. So you don't need to see the service fees, but there can be something like payment terms, what is the schedule of payment. For example, your client needs to get paid every month. Like he wants to raise his invoice every month and needs to get paid that way. So you will have to check if this has been included in your agreement or not. Let's see what has been included here in fees and expenses. Project changes. So this is saying that this require time vendor will notify the university. Okay, this is something that it says that the client will, the vendor will, if there is any change in a project needed, the university will tell the vendor that, and the vendor will notify the university about it that I have done this thing or that. So this is something that they must have discussed. So we will just skip this as well. Then travel and other expenses. This is something that they'll discuss. Your client will always tell you what they want to be checked. So sometimes there are clients who say that I want these things to be included in my agreement. And sometimes what happens, one of the party in the agreement sends their standard form contract to the other party. And the other party says that this is something that I have been given by the other party, and you need to check that I want these things to be included in the agreement. So if these are there or not, and if these are not there, please include them there. So you have to review on those points. So whenever you get a contract for review, you always get some points on what that contract is to be reviewed. For example, some clients will say that I am agreed with everything written in the contract. Just check my IP clause and confidentiality clause, if this protects my IP rights or not, or something like that. So whenever you are getting a contract to review, you'll always get points to review that. So if the client would have told me, so basically this is one thing. Fees and expenses is one thing that you always need to check. For example, like we skip that scope of agreement part. We cannot skip this part if the client has not given any specification. You have to check this part, and you have to make your client aware of this, that this is where it can get problematic. So please be clear on each and every point. You have to explain this to your client that this agreement, this clause includes these things. So if you're agreed with these things or not. So invoices generally at what point the vendor would be needed to raise the invoices, and how that invoice is going to get paid. So these are very important things, because whenever you are working for your client, you always want to get paid. So this is something that needs to be very specifically mentioned in the agreement. University affiliates, you don't need to bother about this, because this would be something between them only, solicitation and employment. So yes, this is one thing. Solicitation is one thing. What is not solicitation is, you must have an idea of non-solicitation agreements and something like that. So you have to check if there is some red flag here. So I think this was completely fine. That's why I did not redline here anything. This confidentiality thing. So what I remember from this agreement is the client asked me specifically to check the confidentiality and IP part. So I must not have touched any other part here in this agreement. So the confidentiality, let me see why I have deadlined this. During the term of the university may disclose to vendor, or vendor may obtain access to develop or create one public documents. So what I have added here is what they had done is they had included this confidentiality agreement on part of university only. They had stated that the vendor may gain access to university's confidentiality confidential information, and so the vendor should be bound to not to disclose those confidential information to anyone else. What I did is I included that the university may also get access to vendors' confidential information. For example, if a vendor is a company, the vendor has some different employees, and the data of that employee is accessible to the university. I would want the data of those employees also to be protected, right? So I have included that not only the vendor is bound by this confidentiality thing, the university will also be bound to protect the confidential information of the vendor as well. So this is what is the gist of this red line part here. So this is primarily that only that basically their confidential definition of their confidential part did not include what will and what will not include confidential information. So this is basically a very standard clause for any confidentiality agreement, that any information that is in public domain will not be considered as confidential information, which is, so for example, I shared an information with you which already everyone knew. So you will not be bound to like protect that information. For example, I in future, if anyone comes to me and tells me that this is something that I got to know from this other party which was in contract with you, but I know that that information was already in public domain, I cannot sue you for disclosing that information. So this is one thing. Second thing, any information already in position of receiving party at the time of disclosing that. For example, I told you something about myself that I am this person, but you already knew it. So you did not gain access to that information from me at this moment. You already knew it, so you are not bound to protect that information. Okay. And the third is any information obtained from a third party not in breach of any confidential obligation to the disclosing parties. Also, any information that you have gained access to, not from me, but any third party who was not bound by confidential information. So these three things are something which would not be included as confidential information of the other party. So this is something that is a standard clause and is included in the definition of every confidential information in every confidentiality contract. Okay, so there may be times when you have included non-confidentiality in your master service agreement only. There are times when you sign a different confidentiality agreement as well. Same happens with NDA as well. Non-disclosure is generally confidentiality only, because something that is confidential, you are agreeing not to disclose that. So non-disclosure and confidentiality are generally one of the same thing. That's why it is marked 5.1. So confidentiality was clause 5, and this is the first subclause of that clause. Okay. So first we defined what confidentiality is, then confidential information is, then we said that the parties would not disclose it to the other party. And the changes here made are generally in concurrence of that only, that not only the vendor will be bound by this confidentiality thing, but the university will also be bound by the same confidentiality things. So the changes are generally related to that only.
Sakshi, there's one question. Rashmi is asking is there an NDA between parties? If there is an NDA between parties, are we still required to add the confidentiality clause in the agreement?
So non-disclosure and confidentiality is one thing I told you. Non-disclosure of confidential information, NDA and confidentiality.
No, but if there's an NDA already, do you have to include the confidentiality clause in the other agreement? She's asking.
No, there's no need, because they're one of the same things, right? Confidentiality agreement and non-disclosure agreements are one of the same things. Why would you sign two different contracts for same thing? but there's no harm in including. But generally, see, if you have included your for example, you have included in both things. You have included your confidentiality thing in your master service agreement as well, and you have included your contract. You have also signed a different NDA. So what will happen is, if you have signed any specific contract for any specific things, the terms in that specific contract will prevail over your master service agreement. Okay, so if there is any conflicting clause in both agreements, the terms of NDA will prevail over MSA. Clear? So this NDA, then security measures. Agrees it will protect the confidential information received according to commercially accepted standards, and any even no less the receiving party shall take necessary and reasonable actions to prevent such confidential information from being disclosed to any unauthorized person or entity. It is just an extension. See, this purple part is nothing else, but what I did is I have explained this, that what this would mean. This was not very clear, so this is just an extension of what they were trying to say. What I understood, I could not get very clearly from this segment. That's why I have explained it very clearly here. So reviewing does not mean just to see your red flags. It also means that you can explain something that you think that it would mean, but it might become dicey in future for the purpose of interpretation. So you can also explain things while reviewing it.
One more question, Sakshi. I think we'll
Yes,
keep
please.
this as the last one. It's already 1.5 hours. I think you'll also have to leave. What are the major, just tell us the name of the clauses that when we are reviewing that we have to definitely see, and whether it's mutual or unilateral, what are those clauses that we should definitely keep in mind when we are reviewing a contract?
Okay, what you can see is the fees thing that I already told you. Then your responsibilities. If there are any responsibilities included that you have, the client will do this and the other party will do this, then you have to see that they are all balanced up. It should not be the case that one party is overburdened with all the responsibilities and second party is not bearing anything. So you have to see that it has to be balanced. Then the third thing is always IP and confidentiality is one thing that you always have to check. IP is one thing. If you have to see that the contract is always balanced. Apart from this, you have to go over jurisdiction thing as well. You should look at jurisdiction, that what jurisdiction is included there. For example, I am living in India and you are living in USA. And when we are agreeing to a specific jurisdiction, I want it to be convenient for me, because that party is something who can already have a representation in India. I would always want that, and if there is any, I want to be secured. That is the client. I am the service provider. I would want that if the client does not pay me, I want to sue that client in India. So I'll just take care that jurisdiction is always kept in India, not in USA. So this is one thing. Jurisdiction is one thing that you can see. Then, yeah, taxes. Who is going to take the responsibility of taxes and all? So this is also one thing that you can see there. Then, yeah, these are the basic things that you have to check. Just let me have a look. So intellectual property is one thing where I made the term and termination. You have to check what are the termination conditions. It's that there should not be a case that only one party is getting the right to terminate the agreement and the other party is not getting that right. For example, if I say that I am in breach, if you are in breach of a specific term, I'll terminate this agreement. But the contract does not say that if I breach a condition, you can terminate the agreement. So I have to check that as well. So the basically what the contract should be, even if you are representing one client, you should always see that the contract is balanced. It should not be a case that a contract is shifted, because such contracts will always be declared void in the court as well. If a contract is just favoring one party and it is not in favor of other party at all, such contracts will primarily be declared void or voidable in the courts. So a contract should always be balanced in respect of rights of both parties. You have to check that, even if your client insists that no, I want it in my favor only. But if you are actually concerned about the interest of your client, you should say that no, you cannot draft a contract which favors you only. It has to be balanced. So this is one thing I would suggest. Yes,
yeah,
please.
you'd said that the the governing law or the law should be of India, but generally when what we study theoretically, it should be a neutral law. Suppose you are based in India
It can
and
be.
the other party is based in US. Maybe we can keep Singapore as the seat or
Yeah, you
governing
can
law,
do that.
something
You
like
can
that.
always do that. So basically, jurisdiction is one thing where you have to check. I did not say that it should be India. No, it is not that. It is just that what do you want? Basically, you have to have a look what it says in jurisdiction clause. The both parties should agree on what the jurisdiction clause is saying and how they are going to define the jurisdiction of their dispute thing or something like that.
Great. Thank you so much. I think we've taken enough of your time, and I think students really liked how nice it was with Upwork and the contract reviewing. So we
Thank
hope
you.
that you can take out more time and come for more classes, and I'll
Sure.
talk to you after the class as well. Okay, so Sakshi,
Surely,
I'll let you
surely.
go, and I'll talk to the students after that, and
Okay.
then I'll talk to you. Okay, thank you so much, Sakshi.
No
Thank you
problem.
for your
It was-
time and effort.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No problem. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye. Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Yes, actually, you can stop screen sharing and leave.
अच्छा ठीक है.
हाँ 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 मैं आपसे बाद में बात
Everyone is left now. हाँ ठीक.
करूँ. नहीं, people are there. I'll just talk to the students. आप जा सकते हो, फिर मैं आपको कॉल करती हूँ बाद में.
अच्छा ठीक है ठीक है.
ठीक है. Thank you.
Bye bye. Take care.
Bye. Bye. Yeah. So yeah, now we can talk freely. What did you think of the session? Would you like more sessions with Sakshi like this? Or do you think it wasn't useful? You didn't learn anything from the class today. So now you can just unmute, guys. You don't have to raise your hand. Some people on the chat box said it was very useful. Shivani and I think Aditya said. I think Aditya is still here. Yeah. Yeah, what did you think of the session, guys? I will circulate a feedback form as well. So we can have more sessions with Sakshi later, and she can help us because she has done a lot of work with US contract laws. Like I was telling you, that contract is different. There's slight differences between contracts drafted in different jurisdictions. In US, they prefer putting all the party names in one paragraph. The contracts that you have drafted are common law contracts, which is followed by UK, European Union, India, and all of those countries. The contract which you saw most likely was sent to her by Boston University, and the client sent it to her, and she made those changes for her client. Okay, so you see it will be little different. Even the dates written in US is different. In US, they put the month first and then they put the date. So suppose today is 17th July, they'll put July 17th. So it will be 7/17/2021. And in India, it will be 17/7/2021. So that will also be different in the contract when you're writing effective date, date of execution, all those things. Dashmi Singh, she might have explained the clauses in more detail. Yeah, but we have limited time. So we will have contract drafting and reviewing. That's part of your course. So don't worry about the contract part. But today, basically, I wanted you to see how Upwork and Profile and all work. We can ask her to take more classes. And there are a lot of experts who can take contract drafting and reviewing classes as well. So that's not a problem. More contract reviewing classes would be appreciated. Yeah, definitely. That's going to be there. And even your assignments, you're going to write one contract and draft clauses and it's going to be reviewed for you. So you're going to get a lot of practice on contract drafting and reviewing. Don't worry about that. But that's one of the major works that you get on Upwork. Like you saw the kind of jobs which you posted, a lot of them are contract drafting. And that's one of the reasons I want to have one review contract drafting and reviewing in your assignment. Yeah, Mitali, you had a question.
So basically this class was about understanding what kind of contracts we can work on from the US clients, right?
Yeah. Because Upwork, mostly what I understood from Sakshi, or having a conversation with Sakshi before she took a class, is Upwork is a US-based platform, and you have a lot of clients who want work done in the US and US contracts to be drafted and reviewed. And she has experience in that. Like she has also advised clients on cryptocurrency, and there's some Howie case which talks about currencies and cryptocurrency. So we can have one class about that also with Sakshi. She has advised clients, successfully advised clients on those things. There are also some, and I know Sakshi and Gurpreet because Gurpreet was my friend in law school in India, and they have done a lot of Upwork projects, and some of them required a US attorney signature. So they took my signature and they I signed for them and they put a legal opinion there and they paid me also something. So that is also something you guys can do and look into. Like if it requires a US attorney signature, you can talk to me and we can talk about your project and I can look it up and I can give my signature and you can earn some money like that. Trademark registration requires that. So they had done that with me. So you can collaborate with people like that. You have so many contacts because you're doing this LawSikho course. There's some 50 people in your course. If you just put it on the WhatsApp group, you will get some contact who has done a license in US or UK or something like that, or an LLM somewhere, right? So that's what these sessions are about. Shivani saying the session was really nice. So yeah, contract drafting and reviewing, you will get a lot of sessions and practice. Don't worry, we still have about 8-9 more assignments left for this course, and then we'll give you a lot of bonus assignments on contract drafting and reviewing. So don't worry about that. You will get, and all your feedback sessions are for contract drafting and reviewing only. So don't worry about that. That part, don't worry. Okay. Anything else, guys, you want to talk about or take up? And I once again recommend, please complete your assignments. We are about to come to an end to your mandatory assignments. There are just about 8-9 weeks left for your mandatory assignments. After that, whatever you do is bonus. Okay, so try and complete your assignments which are pending, which are starting now. And because now you've done 2-3 countries and even the chapters are uploaded on LMS, you can start working on those countries as well, even if it's not taught in class, because you've been taught, US, a little bit of US and some about UAE. So you can start attempting those questions. So please do attempt your assignment. And of course, the feedback session is there. You can come and ask your questions related to the assignment on feedback sessions. Yeah, Aditya, you had a question.
No, with regard, is there like a particular date before which we submit late assignments? Because I'm pretty back due to college work.
There's no date like that. If you complete, we'll be more than happy to evaluate your assignment. We just want you to attempt assignments and complete it and do the gig exercise so that you can.
Many of them don't have the gig exercise.
You do it on your own. You do it on your own.
But should be related to the topic.
Yeah, related to the topic. Do it on your own. Tag me, tag Ramanuj, tag Abhyuday, tag Yash. Tag your friends from your class so that they can also comment on it and you get more reach.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Shivani saying more sessions like that would be great. Yeah, I'm happy with Sakshi's. I was very happy with today's class. So don't worry about contract drafting and reviewing. That's going to be there in almost every LawSikho class. So you will learn at least some contract drafting and reviewing by the end of this course, you will know. So every course actually, because one of the important things we teach and skills we teach in LawSikho.
I just want to know, since a few of us, I understand, are starting freelancing as like a side thing or as a main thing, what kind of contracts can we do now? Like with what all we have learned? So
everything. You open your LMS, you have some 30 templates I've uploaded for all of you. You look at those templates, but again, I've seen a lot of students asking me personal questions on WhatsApp. You are not doing your own research. You first do your own research, Google. Everyone knows how to Google. Now you're all millennials, you're younger to me, so you know how to Google and find out stuff, okay? If you don't know, you can ask Mitali. She's an expert on Googling and finding out stuff in class, okay? So first research on your own, read up on your own, and then ask questions. Because then it looks like you are not interested in answering your own question, right? You have to be independent. And as a lawyer, when you go tomorrow, finish law school, go to a firm or go anywhere in a business, no one is going to spoon feed you and tell you. Like today, I tell you, Aditya, I want you to draft a share purchase agreement. If you come to me and ask, what is a share purchase agreement? I don't understand what is shares. I'm not going to come and tell you. I'm a senior partner in a firm. I don't have time to spoon feed you and tell you, Aditya, come sit here. I'll tell you what share purchase agreement is, how a company is formed. I'm not going to tell you all those things from start. You have to Google and research on your own. If you then have questions and you don't understand what is the difference between, what is that called, a founder or a shareholder or an investor, those things, if you technically questions you ask, then people will appreciate that you've read it. You've read something and you've come to me, you've done your homework. Like that, a lot of people also ask how to apply for LLM. You do your research, everything is there. Then you come and ask questions, specifically ask, okay, I have done this. For US, there's LSAC. What documents, everything is there on Google. Everything is there on the website. It's very, very clear when you go to university's website. How to become licensed in US, how to become licensed in UK, Canada, all these things. Do your research and ask us questions. We'll always be there. But if we find that you yourself are not interested in the topic, why are we spending so much effort in answering your question? Then it feels bad, right? It feels that you are also not doing any effort. You're just asking for the heck of it without doing homework. And this is not just for LawSikho and for our convenience, but as a training as such, you have to be independent. Spoon feeding will not happen. After law school, it gets over. You will be shocked at how your job demands you to do so many things and you don't know, and no one teaches you these things. The idea is you make mistakes here, and we are telling you kindly that, do your research, then ask questions. But when you work in a firm or you work in a chamber, no one is going to tell you. No one is going to tell you how to draft an SLP. They'll say there are templates, go and look, do copy paste, apply your mind, do it. No one is going to spoon feed you and hold your hand and review every line that you're going to do. No one is going to do it. So please look at the material you have, research on Google, read books. You don't have material, we'll give you more material. We'll tell you these are the good websites to look into. Okay, but do your research, then ask questions. We will always answer those questions. Okay. Any other question, guys?
I have one question. Like
Yeah.
what she was talking about portfolio, right? So can we make the changes that are in exercise, whatever remarks we get, can we make the
Yeah, accept those changes and you can upload. Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the
I have
point
one
of doing
question.
work with Lawseco, that we're teaching you those skills. So whatever evaluator has made changes, you accept those and you can upload. But especially the contracts, like that's why I told you in your mentoring session and feedback session, draft the whole contract. Like I've seen some people, like Angana started drafting the whole contract. I think Simranjeet has also started drafting whole contract. Shimanti has started drafting the whole contract. If you have time, draft the whole contract. At least the name, the title clause, the name of the parties, the signature clause, and then in between you can include the definition clause, and then whatever clauses is being asked for you for the exercise, draft that. But if you're doing it on Upwork, then draft the whole contract, because then the client will think she doesn't know how to draft severance clause, she doesn't know how to draft severability clause or dispute resolution clause. They'll feel like that because you've not included that in your contract. So do the whole contract and then upload it on Upwork or Fiverr or freelance.com or whatever. Just don't do one or two clauses uploading. It doesn't look nice. It shows poorly on you as well. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other question?
Just one question. Like,
Yeah.
as I'm just pursuing LLB and haven't completed yet, how the clients how they perceive us if I readily say that I know this kind of a thing to do.
See, perception, I'm not sure, because like I said, I have not, my profile is there on Upwork, but it's because Sakshi and Gurpreet
I'm just adding one thing.
Yeah,
So I just
go ahead.
recently got a client on Upwork, but that is not related to a legal thing. I was just going to understand how this platform works.
Yeah,
So what
yeah,
happened is I got an offer, and then I accepted, and those chats happened, and then there was a video call. So it's like the person gets to see you, and you have to convince him. So this was out of the box of legal, and I kind of spoke with her, and the vibes were good, and it has not started yet. It is starting from Monday. She'll let me know what to do. So I'm still in the process, to absorb how things are going. But like, as you are telling me very rationally, now I'm making up my mind to, there's specialized profile which we can make on Upwork. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking to, put all these legal tags in that specialized profile and even start
Yeah,
with
put
this.
those, put
But
those.
I'm
See,
just
anyway, even if
feeling-
you're not licensed in India, you're not licensed in the other, even if you're like LLB and advocate in India, you're anyway not licensed to practice in the US. But still clients are coming because
Correct.
it's cheaper. It's
So I can
cheaper.
do
It's
that,
basically
right?
coming. Yeah, they can do that. See, contract for contract drafting, even a BA can do it. You don't need to have an LLB to do it. Just drafting, because it's English. But to understand the legal ramifications, you need a lawyer. But if you show your work, this is what I've done, I think it should not be a problem. And I don't think they can sue you or do any of those malpractice.
Yeah, I think we
things
are on
because
point.
You're not licensed anywhere. You're not
Right.
licensed.
So even I found there's a differentiation between legal consulting. So these legal consultants are even charging $250 per hour and
Yeah,
things like
they
that.
are.
But those are like fully professional, right?
Exactly.
So on contrary, what we can do is just start with drafting, and then later on we can see how.
Exactly. Yeah. Reviewing, leave it for later, and even do non-legal work. Like if you weren't there for the beginning of the class, which Sakshi had said, that getting your first job is very hard on Upwork. After that, it becomes easier.
Yeah, that's what I try to do. Like my current profile is a non-legal profile. I was just wanting
do
to
proofreading, do
Ah.
explaining contracts, do explaining case law. Those things you can do as a third year, fourth year law student. Right. And see, the important thing of just getting your license is you might know more than a lot of advocates who are actually practicing in India. Okay. But the thing is, the license is only there so that your signature has some value. Because, okay, they are being governed by a licensing body. Tomorrow, if they're doing some misrepresentation or fraud or breach or something, I can just go to the Bar Council of Mumbai or Delhi or whatever and complain against this person. and maybe initiate legal proceedings. And if it's very severe, then maybe you can even get disbarred, which very rarely happens in India, but you can. Okay, but in abroad, that's a very, 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 very strict thing. Like tomorrow, if I'm actually drunk and teaching you, or I'm drunk and coming to court, like not just the judge, but even a lawyer who's sitting behind me, who's not even part of the case, can report me to the New York Bar Council, and I can be disbarred, and there will be, proceedings initiated against me. They are very strict. And there are things like if your opinion is so strong against what your client is doing, you can even then say that I'm not going to represent you, because the idea is you have to represent the client to the best of your ability. Suppose the client who's come to me is someone from BJP, and I'm very strictly against BJP's, thought process or the philosophy. I can just say, no, I'm not going to represent you. And if I'm representing, then I'm not doing the best of my job, because my ideology is completely against that political party or something like that. So there are ethical codes against that in Canada and in US, but in India, there's not like that. So I don't think there will be a problem, but we can find out. I'll just find out with the people in placement cell. They'll know about these things better. So you're part of, I think, the placement team, so freelance team. So you can ask them yourself about these things. Yeah, they know better. Honestly, I've not done work on Upwork. I've just done once with Sakshi and Gurpreet when they required my signature for something. So yeah.
But by the way, thanks for telling that you can give us at least the signature part.
But I'll charge, okay? I work very hard for the New York license, so I will charge some very meager amount of money. But yeah, definitely you can.
No, but that will be like at least we getting to know this whole process. If at all we come across these contracts.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
If you do, and you require a US licensed attorney, you require a New York licensed attorney, you can definitely talk to me about it. Okay. So yeah, if there's any other questions, no other questions, and you guys can leave. We're going to have a team meeting here. So you can just leave, and if you're going to take time, then I'll remove you from the meeting, okay? And I'll circulate the feedback form. So please do fill that up. It'll help us. And if you like Sakshi's sessions, I'll definitely ask her to take more sessions on Upwork and contract reviewing and drafting. She's very good, she's very knowledgeable. And they have one client from Upwork on retainership as well. So they're doing really well on Upwork. Caesar, Paralegal, and AGS law firm. So yeah, okay. Great. So thank you so much, guys. The feedback form will be circulated, and you will have your feedback session for commercial arbitration next week, and then the current assignment next week. Okay. So yeah, thank you.
Ma'am, just a request.
Yeah.
The sessions that you take during the weekday, can we do it on a Monday, Wednesday, or a Friday? Not
we are going to try to do something like that. You wanted Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
Or Friday,
we'll try to figure out.
Yeah, please,
we'll try to figure something
that way, at least I'll not miss this session.
Yeah, we'll try to figure something out. And of course, Mitali, you can always reach out to us.
But then, I'm missing out on these live sessions. That's what.
Of course. We'll try to figure out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You said, not Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we'll figure out something like that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else, guys? Great. Thank you. You can all leave. We're going to have a team meeting, so the meeting is not going to end.